guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming for you 20 bookish facts about myself. I thought that because I'm still sort of new here, the more that you know about me, book and writing wise, the better. So I've jotted down 20 things that I think are most important to know about me as a reader. Some a little quirky, some a little, you know, generic. Maybe everyone does those types of things or likes those kind of books, but I thought that it would be fun regardless, and I'm excited to share with you. So without further ado, let's get on to the video. The first bookish fact that I want to share about myself is that I actually read the Divergent series before I ever read The Hunger Games. And I still really prefer Divergent. I don't know if it's because I read it first, but I really think that Veronica Roth's world, I don't want to say that it's more complex because I don't think that's it. I just think that because I fell in love with the characters more, I have like a connection to them first. And I also think that the faction system really stands out to me as something that's unique. And I love the way that the world is run and how we get to see all the flaws. So still Divergent over Hunger Games. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but that's just the way I feel. Second bookish fact about myself is that my favorite Shakespeare play is King Lear. Another fun fact added on to that fact is that King Lear actually has a daughter named Cordelia, and Cordelia is my younger sister's name. When I took Shakespeare courses, I always got asked if my mom and my sister's dad named my sister after King Lear, and I always had to explain to them that it was a show called Angel, which was like the spin-off of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So though it would have been cool if it was Shakespeare, that is not the origin of her name, but beautiful nonetheless. Number 3 is that I started my literature blog, The Literature Bug, which this YouTube channel is a sort of addition to when I was a sophomore in college, and the first platform that I ever used to keep up with it was Tumblr, because that's all I knew how to use. Number 4 is that even I, as a reader, have SparkNoted books through college. I want to say only like 3 or 4 times. But there were definitely books that I had a hard time getting through and needed the extra little bit of help, especially summary wise. So I hate to admit it, but I've definitely been there. Number 5 is that I definitely judge books by their covers. And though most people think that that's a bad trait and that I'm missing out on things that maybe don't have the best covers but have really great stuff on the inside, I am not ashamed of it personally. Half of my love for reading is actually reading, and half of my love is collecting books and displaying them. So the better the cover, it just works out better for me, and I still have a million and one great reads with good covers, so I'm always going to be missing out on some things no matter what. So I'm sure that I will continue to do this. Every once in a while I try to break the habit, but it's not worked thus far. I also think that there's something that I love about sort of the behind the scenes of how a book is made, and I think that the design of the book, the cover of the book, the way the book is put together is something that I can appreciate as well. So I love the art, I love the photos, etc. And I think that they're great to have. Number 6 is that I am obsessed with reading thrillers. The genre to me stands out only because sometimes it's things that could happen in real life, and sometimes there are things that are a little bit more far-fetched. Either way, a thriller to me is amazing, and once you get to that halfway mark, you literally, I have the hardest time putting them down until I'm actually done. So they tend to be the books that I read the fastest, and though I've not read one in a little bit, I'm looking to introduce my fall TBR to you guys soon, and I will let you know there are a lot of thrillers on that list. I mean, why wouldn't you read them in October to freak yourself out even more? Number 7 is that I have never actually read a Stephen King novel. When I am in book conversations and people say they love Stephen King, the only book I can tell them that I have read by him is his memoir called On Writing. I was required to read this in high school and then was recommended to read it again in college because it is absolutely excellent if you're a writer and you're working on sort of what your writing process looks like, and you know, it's got tips and tricks and things not to do but it definitely lets you in on Stephen's mind and how he was able to write as much as he did and still does. I know that it feels like he comes out with a new book like every other day. So hopefully in the near future, I will be able to finally sit down and read one of King's books. If you guys have any suggestions as to which one I should read first, leave them down below in the comment section and I will be sure to check them out. I think sometimes my problem is that he has so many books and I really just don't know where to start. Number 8 is that I prefer softcover for reading, but I prefer hardcover for collecting and displaying. So though I love to buy hardcover books, I don't really bring hardcover books out with me to read, and I find them extremely difficult and annoying to read with. And a couple of facts, you'll learn this as well, but I'm one that likes to bend books. I break the spine, I highlight a book ear, I dog ear. I do all the things that some people think are absolutely disgusting to do if you love books and you love reading, but I like to really break my books in and make them my own. Soft covers to me are always better for that. So I have a really good mix of both on my shelves, and if you guys are ever interested in a bookshelf tour, the way they're set up right now is kind of and I am always looking for suggestions as to how to organize and how to display. But if you guys want to see a bookshelf tour, comment that down below as well and I will make sure to add that to the list of videos that I plan on filming shortly. Number 9 goes back to what I was saying before. I love to highlight, I love to underline, I like to dog ear, I like to break the spine, I like to rough my books up. I don't feel bad about it. I purchased the book, it's my book, it's not, I would never do that to like a library book or someone else's book that I'm borrowing, but I like to remember why I love the book to begin with if I loved it, and I feel like annotating and doing that sort of thing really makes the book your own, and if anyone else is to ever pick up those books or ask to borrow those books, they'll see sort of exactly why I love them and what parts were my favorite. So I do that, not all the time. There are books that I have definitely put my mark on, to put it lightly. Number 10 is that I have not read any poetry in over a year. I did a lot of poetry reading when I took British Lit in college, but otherwise I don't write poetry and I'm not really sure where to start to read poetry. I know that there are a million and one options and I am always looking for something. Every time I go to the bookstore, I stop in the poetry section and I pull out a couple. But other than the authors that I really know about and love, I don't know where to start. If you guys have recommendations for that, I would also be appreciative. I know that there are some poets out there who just blow people away and I know that I'm missing out on it and I want to get into it. So for as much as I haven't read in the last year, I'm looking to make up for it. Number 11 is that just like movies and TV shows, I am not a fan of reading books while the hype is there. When everyone else is reading something at the same time, I don't tend to pick those books up and be a part of that first group to read it, especially with new releases or really anticipated reads. I feel like there's a hype that everyone goes through, but I like to read a book and get into a book after the hype is over, only because I like to have my own thoughts and my own feelings and a clear head going in. I don't want any expectations. I don't always want to know whether someone liked it or if a lot of people hated it. I found that because I do that, I have actually loved a lot of books that people don't like, and I have actually not enjoyed books that everyone was obsessed with. So for that reason, I just find it better to do it maybe a year after or something like that. I always do write them down, I add them to my TBR, but I'm not always overly anxious to get my hands on them when everyone else is reading them at the same time. And sometimes I think that less is more and knowing less is better, so that I can really read the book for the first time instead of feeling like I've read it like 50 times already. Number 12 is that the end of books that I read more than not make me cry. I very frequently get emotionally attached to characters that I'm reading about, and the ends of books as of late have made me very emotional. Some of them have made me super sad, other ones have made me really angry, and I think that's the sign of a good author and a good book, is when you can feel 15 different emotions while you're reading, and then at the end be like in that book hangover mode where you just don't know how to pick up a new book because you're still so stuck on the characters, the way it ended, and all of that. I'm an emotional person, and it comes out in my reading. What can I say? Number 13 is that Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain is one of my favorite novels of all time. I know that it's a controversial book, it's a banned book, but there's something about it that I love. I don't know if it was the class I took where I had a great professor, I had great conversation, I was able to look at some really great criticism and write some great papers and actually really dissect it and see what it's all about and find the messages and find the reasons why and, you know, see all the complexities of the characters and the world and where they're from. Along with that, I will admit that I, with the exception of Nova, who is our cat right now, I have named like my last 5 pets after popular books or movies that I love. So my sister had a cat and we named him Binks from Hocus Pocus. I named my kitten that I had Soda Pop from The Outsiders. I had a fish named Caraway, who was named after Nick Carraway from Great Gatsby, because I love that character. And then I also had a mouse as a pet for 2.5 years, and his name was Felton, only because he didn't look like a Malfoy. Malfoy just seemed like kind of a mean name, and it didn't really fit this cute tiny little mouse, but Draco Malfoy is my favorite character, one of my favorite written characters in the Harry Potter series, and so I used Felton as the name to, you know, to pay tribute to that, because Tom Felton plays Draco Malfoy's character in all of the Harry Potter films. So his name was Felton, and Briar and I are actually looking for a little boy kitty to add to our family, and we think that we want to name him Huck. So we will have a Finn at my mom's, and then when we have a Huck to complete the whole thing. So that is something that I do, and I probably will always do it, and I think that's just fine. Number 14 is that I had never DNF'd a book in my life until last year, and that's because the book was horrible and I couldn't get past the first like 15 pages. I used to have feelings about DNFing books in which I felt guilt because I didn't finish it and I wasn't giving it a good enough chance. But since then, I've realized that reading is my pleasure. Like, reading is fun for me and it's what I do, it's my hobby. And any book that's going to make me feel like I'm working and I'm not having fun isn't really worth the read. It takes up too much time. I end up reading the same things over and over again. I'm not connecting with the book at all, regardless of what it's about. And I just decided that now when that happens, I'm not gonna force myself to punish myself for feeling like I don't like it, and I'm just gonna put it down. What are you gonna do? Number 15 is that I actually seriously have to restrain myself right now in this moment at 24 years old to not buy books for my future children. I don't know if anyone else has that issue, but Briar and I get to talking about having a family and what the next few years look like for us, and sometimes when I'm in a bookstore I can't help but go through the kids section and want to sort of pick up those favorites that I love. I know they're never gonna disappear, and I know that they're always gonna be published and they're always gonna be out there for when I want to buy them, but for some reason there's an urgency to start that library for them, and I don't know what it is. Books like Stella Luna and Henry and Mudge and the Frog and Toad series. I've done a really good job and I've not done anything yet, but every time I'm in a bookstore, Briar has to be like, no, 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 no. We can't do that because we don't have space. So once we have space and we have storage, maybe, just maybe, I'll grab a couple. Oh well. Number 16 is that I can actually read and write in the car without feeling car sick whatsoever. A lot of people in my family cannot do the same thing. My sister gets very car sick. She always has. I know that my brother, I think, has a hard time reading in the car. And writing, people are like, forget it. But I have never had any issues with it at all. So it's really great for me because we do a lot of traveling. Hours and hours long car drives. Sometimes in a straight weekend, we do like, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours of travel. So I always love to bring a book with me. I get a lot of reading done that way because there's nothing else to do. And as far as writing goes, I can do the same. If I have ideas for books, I can jot those down. If I have ideas for videos, I jot those down. I always keep a notebook and a pen with me, as well as a book in my purse, because, you know, you never know when you're gonna be struck with that next great idea. So I can do that, and I know that other people can't, so it's kind of cool. Number 17 is that I own over 400 books. and I still keep buying them. That is a number that total includes Briar and I's libraries put together. We have added more since we moved here, and I'm sure that we've almost replaced everyone that we got rid of, so there's a lot. Number 18 is that I cannot go into a bookstore without buying a book. Even if the only thing I walk out with is a $3.97 bargain book, I'm good. But I can't go in there and not buy something. I don't know what it is. I've never been able to do that. When I go in there, it's the opportunity to add and to have something new, and I just can't. So the rule is, when I have no extra money to spend, I don't go in there, because I end up spending more than I should, and it's not always necessary. It's an addiction, and I don't have to stop it, so I stay away when there's no money. And then when I have a few free dollars, I go. And like I said, if the only thing I buy is a $3.97 book, I'm satisfied and I can leave. Weird things, I don't know. We are actually getting very close to the end here, and I've got 2 more bookish facts for you guys. Number 19 is that though I'm a writer, I have still never been published, except for the time myself and my friend Olivia in the 4th grade entered a writing contest for young Americans for some anthology that my teacher told us about. We sat down during class time and we wrote out this whole book. I think we had like a couple weeks to work on it, but I said whole book, a writing piece. There was a maximum amount of words. It's not a lot at all, it was a short story. But we worked on it for like 4 weeks and we sent it off, and then months later I got a call that it was being published. And so I treasure this bad boy because it is the only published work that I have thus far. Looking for there to be more, obviously, because that is what I studied and that's how I would like to sort of fuel my career. But on the 2nd page of the anthology of short stories by young Americans, I'm published, and there's no title, so there's that. An accomplishment, a treasure forever. And the last bookish fact about myself that I'm sharing with you today, number 20, is no matter how old I get, I will never stop rereading Harry Potter. Harry Potter has been a favorite of mine, a favorite series since I was 7 years old. It has now almost been 20 years since the first time that I ever read it, and I will never stop rereading the series. I will reread them for myself. I will reread them with others. I will reread them to my children, and nothing's gonna stop me. I just love it. What's not to love? But yeah, those are 20 facts about myself that I hope let you in a little bit more into my life as a reader and writer. I know I did the BookTube newbie tag. That had a lot to do with my channel, and I feel like these were a little bit more personal, so I hope that you enjoyed them. I'm sure I will film more videos like this in the future. But until then, 20 will do you. If you guys can relate to any of the facts that I shared, comment below and let me know which ones. I would love to hear from you, and I would love your opinion on some of the things that I shared. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more bookish content from me every single week, including sit-down videos and weekly vlogs, then subscribe down below and make sure to click the bell so that you're notified whenever I have posted something new. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye!